Okay, in this video, I wanted to cover how to process kind of a complex client and how that works here. Now, if I don't really need to go in and show you this, but basically we have a company that their main name is Five Star Franchising. And inside there, if you look, you'll see several different clients. You'll see Bio1, ProNexus, Five Star Bass Solutions, Mosquito Shield, and I think there's 6 in total. So what we're doing for this client is they're purchasing a package of hours every single month, and instead of doing 6 different purchases, they're doing one full purchase. It makes more sense for them. But how do we best report to them? Well, the first step is we make each brand its own client, because that's then how we're going to be able to track it. Each brand then can get a report at the end of the month, and then we can also transfer hours back and forth between those. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a little bit about how we're going through and tracking those. So under projects, if I go down to the very bottom, I've got a thing called Five Star Franchising Currents. You can call this whatever you want, but basically this is showing me the Five Star Franchising, and it shows me all of the projects kind of in their process. I'm not looking at archive projects, and I'm not looking at not started projects, because those hours really haven't been accumulated yet. You could include not started, that may change, but it just kind of depends on what we want to do. In this case, we can always take those hours when they're not started and collect them later when we're completing those. So for example, if the not started project, we have hours on it and it doesn't go anywhere, we can just move it as completed and then track the hours that were there, even if they were months in the past. Just kind of depends. But the key thing is we're not including archived. So the way this process works is that we work on all these projects throughout the month. And then as they get completed at the end of the month, we then look at this and say, okay, these are all the projects. We're going to go through and accumulate the hours and then do our reports. Once the reports are done, then we're going to move all completed projects to archive, because we don't want to focus on them in the following month. It doesn't make sense because all that time has been completed and we're done on that. So for example, let's look at this Bio1 Acron business card. So I'm going to click on this one. This is a short, quick project. It's a business card they wanted just to be created and be done with. And what I'm doing is looking at here and I'm seeing that, oh, this may be something I can catch. This is good. I'm bringing up an example here. I'm seeing the last entry was a billable entry, and it was a month ago on April 29th. So this one actually fell through the cracks, and we have no time in May, which that's the current month. All the times in April. And we did a billable entry at the end of April. So this one actually should have been archived. So I'm going to click on archive, and I'm just going to make a note to actually archive the project. And so this one is done. It's one that we shouldn't have to worry about and shouldn't be covered on this project. But do you see the benefit of going through these? I am having to go through them one by one, but I'm able to catch certain things like that and make the changes that we need to. So good, we caught that one and we're fixing that one. Now let me go to another example here. So I'm going to click on Bio1 Style Guide. Now this project's gone, this has taken a lot of time, and it's gone from month to month to month, and we've used a lot of hours on this. And that's mostly because the client wanted a lot of different changes to it. So in this case, I know this is a new one. We've got 5 days ago is when we recently worked on it. We come down here to timesheets and we can see a bunch in May, and we can also look and see that we did do a billable report back in April. So we made a lot of significant changes to there. So how do we go about doing this? Well, I'm going to add a billable hour trigger here. This is going to add the hours to this project that I need to track. It does it automatically, and what it's doing is calculating, saying of the used hours versus what's billable. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you this calculation. Now, I don't have a note here because there is a place to do a note on. Note about billable. So if I wanted a note in there saying we're taking off at least 20 hours, then I would want to note that. But in this case, we're not. We're taking what's currently billable. So this is what we have right here is we're doing, we spent a lot of hours on this. I may want to take some off because we had some back and forth. So I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to come up here to note about billable, shave off 10 hours. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the actual project because it's at 39. I'm going to take off 10 hours because, and the reason for that is because there were some issues on our part. Well, I don't need to note that there. I'm taking off 10 hours because there were some issues on our part. I'm going to come down to the billable hours and go from 39 to 29. Okay, so that then updates that, gives them back those 10 hours. I'm going to go back over to the project, so I'm hitting the back button. And again, you can see that there's some good tracking there. I have a note about that in the future. I can take some of those hours off in the past. And then, if I move on to the next month and I see that I need to shave off some more hours for that, I can see, well, I shaved off 10 hours beforehand. I can update that to say either shaved off another 10 hours. That's an easy thing to add on, or I can say shaved off 10 hours total. So we know we're doing that running total. So that's just a little bit note about billable that you can put in there. Okay, so this has been added, the tracking, the billables in there, and we're good to go. And that's all we need to do for this one. So we go back to projects. But you see, I'm going through one by one, and that's something that you kind of have to do. And I know it's a lot, but it's something you have to do as you're going through these projects to make sure that they are correctly done. So let's go to the Bio One business card rack design. This one is one that we also worked on, and we had to make a lot of changes to. So I'm going to add billable hours and see where that comes out. The previous billable hours, I'm just going to look down here at the bottom, was 20 hours and 34 minutes, and this one's only going to add 3 hours and 53 minutes. So that's good. That seems in a line. I don't think I have to do anything about it. It's calculated. We're done. We can go to the next one. So I'm going to go up. I'm kind of going from the back, starting up. We made some changes to Sandy's business card, and I don't think there's a ton that's going to be on here, but I'm going to run a billable because this was recent and see what that turns out with. Again, this is making a billable transaction just like the one down here. Oh, I don't think we actually did any billable entries for this one. There's none on there. So billable entry for 4 hours and 73 minutes, or 4.73. That seems appropriate because we did a lot of back and forth with this one. And yeah, we haven't got a complete, this is completed yet. So this is one I could also go follow up and say, hey, this has been a week ago. Is this approved? But I haven't gotten that yet. I could also check by clicking on this project and just opening up in a new window and make sure that, yes, I was the last one to put in here. And I'm just going to put in here, is this one completed? Because it should be. I'm just going to close out of that and come back to my main one. Okay, cool. So let's go back up to the next one. So again, you can see I'm going one by one as I'm going through this, and I'm making sure that we're tracking things and going through this process. Okay, so customer experience video. I'm going to come here and look at hours and see that we put on 16.58 hours. And I want to double check something to see if I did something in here that was correct. And yeah, that's not a, oh, let's see, one more. Yep, this is in April. And did we do a billable entry beforehand? We did do a billable in April. Okay, good. So that's looking correct. I didn't know if I got that 5 hours there. Yep, I did get that because I did 2 billable entries in April. Okay, just double checking to make sure I did that correctly. Now I'm looking at May's, and this all looks correct. Looks like we were missing a category here. Just fix this real quick while I'm doing this. It's a pretty easy fix to do. This is all editing and review, editing, good. So I need to do a billable entry for this. We're tracking those hours, so put a billable entry on there. And all these hours should be accounted for. I don't need to make any notes about that. 9 hours and 33, 9 hours and a third. Okay, cool. So again, just showing you, this is kind of a good example. Looks like I already did a billable entry for this one. And social media graphics, I already did a billable for that one just a couple minutes ago. I was going through and checking some of these old projects, these completed ones, and so I think these are good. And you maybe the last transaction was a billable, and you can just be like, yep, I'm good, I'm done there. But maybe it was a week ago. I mean, you can do billable entries whenever. Like if you feel like the project gets notified and it's set as complete, you can run a billable entry right then and not have to worry about it and say, well, all those are completed, and make your life easier. But it is good to go through just one by one and double check at the end of the month to make sure that all the hours are accounted for, nothing falls through the cracks. Okay, so I'm going to just double check down here on my timesheets. And so I'm accounting for some extra time of an outside freelancer. We got a higher end writer to come write some of these things. And so I've got 16 hours for him because we got a full payment from him, or we paid him fully. Yeah, so 4 hours for Corey. I want to see if we got those on, yep, we did. 4 hours and 4.42. So there was a total of 20 hours for Corey. And so those 20 hours got taken care of, as well as my time put in there. So there's some more hours that should be added on there. 16 and 30 minutes. But I'm going to call this good for now. I need to adjust this a little bit more. So this is my fault. There needs to be a little bit more markup because that was just total for him. And I need to do this a little bit more. I need to add on a couple more hours. So I'm going to add on just a little bit more, then go back. Okay, so I'm going to run a billable entry, and this will add in the concepts and hours to this project. Again, I keep saying this, but going through one by one really just helps make sure that the project is correct and it's working, and we're tracking our hours, and we're deducting hours correctly, and we're not missing our expenses. So sometimes though, Podio will go slow like it is right here, and you won't get an entry for a while, and so you have to do a refresh. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to do a refresh. This one's good, and I'm gonna make a note of this one too, because this one is something I've been waiting for. Just gonna make a note here to Brooklyn that we're waiting for feedback in order to put scripts together. So just make a note of that. That's kind of where we're at, and we're needing their help still. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This was 2 hours ago. I'm going to do a billable entry for this one because I know this one is correct. And so I'm adding in that one, 13 hours and a third. That looks correct to me. So I'll let it do its business. This is going to add another entry there, or another comment. Okay, this one 12 days ago. Okay, was this one, this was still in May. This one's good to double check and come down here and see, yep, May. This was actually created in May. No billable timesheets were added, so I'm going to add a billable for this one. It's really not much time. 0.5. Yep. So some of those are pretty simple and easy. Here's another business card, or tablecloth intent. This one got pretty hairy because they were going back and forth on a lot of stuff. But I only see 3 hours. So this is one of those things where it's like, well, do we add more hours in this as well? I'm gonna say maybe. It just seems like we should have done a lot more, but I don't know. There are times where you may look and say those hours seem really low, but I do remember that the total used hours will be shown, and so it's best not to err on that side. What you would want to do is go back and maybe scrutinize and say, hey, Mika, I'm looking at your hours, and are you sure it was only 15 minutes here and 25 minutes there? Mika's usually pretty accurate on that, but this is a good time to scrutinize, as well as over hours. Are you putting too many hours? This looks like too much. Again, this is a good time to scrutinize the hours as well. I think it looks fine. I'm just going to add a billable for what it is and let it run its work and do that in the background and move on to the next one. Logo files. So they asked us to make some changes. This was a lot of stuff here, but I don't know. 526, 525. Yeah, we did do quite a bit of logo organization here and there. 2 hours, 3 hours, yeah. So there was a bunch of logo stuff that we did. And we haven't done any billable on this, so I'm going to add billable hours to this. I'm concerned about this. So here's my concern on this one. We were doing logo changes, as well as style guide changes, as well as social media graphics. And so I just want to make sure these are adding up correctly, because here was a bunch of logo files we had to make, and 8 hours seems like quite a bit for this, but we needed taglines and different versions, and it kind of went up. I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to shave off a little bit of time because I think this can get a little bit out of hand. Sorry, where's my shaved off 2 hours? I'm going to adjust this entry to be 6.67. Took off 2 hours just because it seems a little excessive. And I'm trying to do that balancing out, well, what would be best for the client? And are they going to look through and say, this just doesn't seem fair, and I want to be fair for them, as well as be fair for our team, because they were being very particular about a lot of stuff. Okay, I lost my arrow buttons because I went back and forth too much. I need to come back to projects, look at logo files. Let's see, we're at Bio1 logo files. Where is that in my list? It should take me back to my view that I was at, but if not, you can jump around. So there's the logo files. We already took care of that one. This one should be a recent one. As you go up more towards the top, you get to ones that are actually recent and done, that are the most recent ones you've been working on. So I'm just going to add billable hours. This one, 2.25 hours for this one. I think we did some back and forth changes on this. Okay, and we did have some issues here, so I'm going to make a note about that. We had issues with the template. Take off an hour. So I'm going to take an hour off because that was our fault. We had used the wrong template, and so we had some issues there. So I'm going to take off one. Issues with template file, and then I'm going to go back, and I've lost my arrows probably again, so I need to go back to projects. Okay, medical waste flyer is actually one that I sent just this morning and triggered some time on, so this one should be just fine for billable hours, and let it run its course. I'm going to look 3.367. Yeah, that should be fine. I think this is the only billable that we've ever done. Yep, there's no billable else besides that. So, yep, that should be correct. And 5-star franchising branding. This technically is a not started one, but work in progress is okay with me too, because we are technically working on this. I'm just going to add some billable hours because we had a meeting about it. Not much more than that. And we're getting up towards the top. This one, 1 hour. Yep, for that. Simple. Add billable hours. There it goes. This one also pretty self-explanatory and good. Full page ad. This is one that I may just want to check on to say, this is 7 days ago. Is this one completed? Because I'd like to know so that I can complete it before the end of the month and so we can archive it. But at the same time, don't want to push the client too much. We can always archive it when we do get finalization. We just want to make sure that what's completed and archived is all of what is the month. Like, for example, we're trying to finish out May right now. We want to make sure everything that's completed and the hours that are tracked for this are done here. And then for June, they're fresh, and that's only what we're seeing is for June stuff. So if we get into June and we're looking, we see, well, this project was completed, but all the hours were for May, and the billable hours haven't changed from May, then we need to archive it. So we don't need it anymore. So that's something to look for as well. Okay, ProNexus Hero video. This is one we've only spent a little bit of time on. And I'll just quickly add a billable because that's not that big of a deal. Okay, so I've kept you on. I just wanted to show you plenty of examples of kind of how I look at this. Group of business cards. So they want us to do a whole bunch of business cards at once. We spent 3 hours. Yep. And yep, that's all good. So I'm going to add those billable hours in. And I think we should be pretty close to being done. buy one corporate rack cards. So we're in process of doing this, but we still want to track our hours for this month. So this will probably carry over to the next. That's fine. We still want to add our billable hours, and we're at the end of our project. So if we come back here, that was our top one. And so we probably pretty much have gone through all of the hours. So that's kind of how you do the hour process.